The Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by DraftKings. Week 15 injury report, updated rankings, and DraftKings ownership. This is likely to be the final injury update and DraftKings ownership show of the season, because I don't do week 17. And next week is Christmas, so I probably won't be in on Christmas. My wife will likely be very mad at me if I come in and shoot a show on Christmas. Maybe I'll do it on Saturday. Who knows? Maybe we'll get in a week 16 one. I do want to help people out in their fantasy finals. As always, the rankings are updated on DraftKingsPlaybook.com, as they will be next week as well. You can find those in the description of this video and podcast. Also, I have a gigantic NBA DraftKings primer being released on Mayo Media Network on Saturday with Stefano and Fast Eddie Fear. We break down, if you've never played DraftKings NBA and you want to jump in this year, the best way to go about that and how to use some of the tools to your advantage so you can leverage that over the competition. Really give yourself a distinct advantage. So for NFL and NBA tools, ftndaily.com is where you can find all of those. Code Mayo will get you a discount on that. Highly recommend that you go check that out. Remember to smash the like button for the video, subscribe to Mayo Media Network, and in the comment section of this video, you got a start sit question for week 15. You drop it in there. You have it in there by the end of Saturday evening. I will answer them at the latest on Sunday morning. You put it in on Sunday morning, I'm probably not going to see it. So just use the rankings when it comes to that, down to that, because I'll be updating them on Saturday evening. And again, after injury reports, and actives and inactives at 11:35 a.m. Eastern time on Sunday morning. So that is where you can get all of the updated info. Let's jump into it. Injury report for Week 15. Saturday games, John Brown is out for the Buffalo Bills. That really seems to be the only skill position-wise, at least, meaningful injury for that game. In the later game that night, Christian McCaffrey is likely out. He is doubtful, so he's... I don't want to say he's most definitely not playing. How can I word this? He's not playing. Put it that way. So don't use Christian McCaffrey. Use Mike Davis. It's pretty much that easy. DJ Moore will return for the Carolina Panthers as well. Teddy B, obviously, under center. Sunday, here we go. Seahawks and Washington. Alex Smith is out. Dwayne Haskins is starting. Antonio Gibson doubtful to play in this game. So we're going to get a combination of J.D. McKissic and Peyton Barber in the backfield. However, with Dwayne Haskins, he is far more unlikely to check down. He's far less willing to check down than Alex Smith. So the overall upside in the PPR floor of J.D. McKissic, the DraftKings floor, is substantially lower than it had been with Alex Smith playing. Now, as it pertains to Terry McLaurin, his air yard should go up. This hasn't been a problem in the past. McLaurin was still able to put up significant value and fantasy points with Haskins under center. Logan Thomas should still be a fine play. He's cheap on DraftKings. He's still a streamer. He's still available in like 30% of leagues if you need a tight end to go pick up. I would say that his upside is lower than it would be with Alex Smith, just because Alex Smith is better than Dwayne Haskins. But for McLaurin, he's going to get his, and this is a good matchup for him. So play Terry McLaurin. Do not worry about Dwayne Haskins. Houston and Indianapolis, Brandin Cooks is likely in. Duke Johnson and CJ Prosise also likely in, but they're game time decisions. They may not play. It's not like you want to run out and go play David Johnson. However, he's coming back from the COVID-19 list, but if he's the only guy back there, him and Buddy Howell, then David Johnson is going to get a significant amount of work in this game. And although it is your fantasy playoffs, if you're using him, if you don't have any other good running backs, at least he's going to get volume if those other guys, he's going to get volume either way, but it'll be less if Duke Johnson ends up playing, and maybe CJ Prosise, if he ends up playing over Duke Johnson, might eat into like 25% of his role, but expect David Johnson to be in around the goal line, and you can use him as like a low-end running back to flex play if you are in dire straits this week. Tampa and Atlanta, Julio Jones is out. Ronald Jones is out. So play as much Calvin Ridley as you possibly can, even against a stout Tampa defense. And on the other side, it does appear that although LaShawn McCoy got a ton of work last week with Ronald Jones active, that Leonard Fournette, who was a healthy scratch a week ago, is going to be the lead ball handler in the Tampa backfield. Can he fall into the end zone twice and win you a week? Sure, but the Atlanta defense has been pretty good. He's trending upwards on DraftKings in terms of ownership because of the price point. He's $4,500. Seems kind of trappy to me, and I've played the worst running backs possible over the past 3 weeks, and it has not worked out. I don't trust this Tampa backfield as is on a week-to-week basis. Now, getting rid of Ronald Jones should immediately point to Leonard Fournette, but it's still Leonard Fournette. I think there was a reason he was a healthy scratch last week because he's not any good. So that's problematic. So just be careful with Leonard Fournette. I have him ranked at running back number 30 right now in the weekly ranking. So he's not a must start by any stretch of the imagination. New England and Miami. New England, they're fine. Miami, who knows what's going on with them? We got DeVante Parker, Mike Gesicki, Salvon, Ahmed, Jakeem Grant, and Matt Breida as all questionable to play. We likely will not have an answer to any of those guys before 11:35 a.m. Eastern time on Sunday. Right now, I have everyone besides Jakeem Grant in the rankings as if they are going to play. So if Grant plays, that is a significant hit to, let's say, Lynn Bowden Jr. He's still going to run a lot of snaps out of the slot. He's still playable, but at $3,500 on DraftKings, where it looked like, yeah, you can definitely go to that direction, that if Grant ends up playing, you probably don't want to do that. It's still a viable flyer, but it seemed like it was pretty set in stone that Lynn Bowden was going to get like a 6 for 50 type of day, and you hope that he ends up scoring or breaks a big one and really adds to that against the Patriots. Now, if Grant is back on the field, that becomes a bit more muddied. Parker, I don't really want to play him. I have wide receiver number 31. You should have better options, hopefully. But with these hamstring injuries, it wouldn't shock me to see 2 of these guys in, 2 of these guys out, and Grant ends up playing, but Parker ends up sitting, and then so does Gesicki. It's a really messed up situation, so you're just going to have to wait on news with this one and see what the right combination of players in and out actually are by the time this one ends up coming. The Ahmed news, Matt Breida is going to come back. Ahmed is questionable to come back. So let's say that both of them are back in. You just move DeAndre Washington all the way to the bench. You can drop him if you want to. Ahmed would be the only one I would consider starting. I'd have him at running back number 23 for the week. You can run on the Patriots. That's not a problem when he has been active and Myles Gaskin has been out, which Myles Gaskin is going to continue to be out, that you want to play Ahmed. He's the one getting all the work. Now, if he actually sits out this game, then DeAndre Washington would almost just go back up into that spot. Unless you encounter a situation like we saw a week ago with the Chiefs where they fell behind very fast at the end of the first half, beginning of the second half, and then he's not game script agnostic. If they're down by a bunch of points, you're not going to see a whole lot of DeAndre Washington on the field. However, if this game is close, and it should be since it's a less than a field goal spread, then you can play him. Geez, he's probably going to get like 75, 80% of the snaps in the Miami backfield. Matt Breida, don't play him. Don't worry about him. He hasn't been a factor all year long, regardless of who's healthy and who's not. So Ahmed, Washington, no Ahmed, then Washington. That's the route that you want to go to play in the Miami backfield. Jacksonville and Baltimore, Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown, and Miles Boykin are both expected to be activated from the COVID-19 list in time for this game. So expect both of them to be in the lineup for the Ravens. Gardner Minshew is starting for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Chicago and Minnesota, Kyle Rudolph is out, so you can play some Irv Smith if you're in desperation mode in Week 15. And put it this way, if you don't have Travis Kelce or Darren Waller, you're probably in desperation mode at tight end. Hey, you know what? The Hawk. TJ Hawkinson's pretty good as well. On the other side, Jimmy Graham's dealing with a hip injury. He's a game-time decision. Either way, I just like Cole Kmet a whole lot better. Over the past 3 weeks, Cole Kmet is seeing a 22% target share from Mitch Trubisky, where Jimmy Graham is only seeing an 8% target share. You just worry about Jimmy Graham stealing one of his touchdowns. That's the only real thing that Jimmy Graham brings to the table. You're not playing Jimmy Graham. You're playing Cole Kmet. You just hope that Jimmy Graham's not there because that would just work out so much better for Cole Kmet. At $3,000 on DraftKings, he's the best Cole you can get. The best a man Kmet. I think that's the one that Paul told me. It's a good line. I should have hit it better. What else do we have here? 49ers in Dallas. Raheem Mostert is in. Deebo Samuel is out. George Kittle is also out. Ezekiel Elliott likely in. Expect to see more Tony Pollard than we're used to seeing, a lot like last week. So I've downgraded Zeke a little bit. I'm still playing Zeke over Pollard right now. I'm playing Jeff Wilson over Raheem Mostert, however, as he is the one getting the goal line touches, more likely to score a touchdown. And it's not like Mostert's a huge part of the receiving game. You can pick up Kendrick Bourne and play him if you really wanted to, but Ayuk is a top 15 option at the position this week against against a weak Dallas secondary. Detroit and Tennessee, Matthew Stafford is going to try to give it a go. It looks like he's traveling with the team to Tennessee, so he might play. It's a game time decision. If not, it'll be Chase Daniel. Kenny Golladay is out for this game. Tennessee side, everyone's good to go. Later set of games, Jets and Rams. Jamison Crowder is likely going to play. He was the only real injury concern. I guess LaMichael P. Ryan is going to be out again for this game. On the other side, Robert Woods is dealing with a thigh injury. Expect him to go. Eagles and Cardinals. Chase Edmonds is likely to play. Jalen Hurts is starting. That's what you need to know from that game. All systems go as normal there. Kansas City and New Orleans. Kansas City side of the ball, pretty self-explanatory. Same as it always is. However, the Saints side of the ball, a little bit tricky. Drew Brees is coming back. He is starting in place of Taysom Hill. Will he take every snap? I don't know. If you've liked the way that Taysom Hill gets some run anyway when Brees is starting. So now that he's actually played a few games, maybe they feel more comfortable like splitting this up like 70-30. I actually have no idea, but I would assume that's on the table, which would limit the upside of Drew Brees in this game. No Michael Thomas either. He is officially out, deactivated against the Chiefs. Not great for the passing game, not great for Drew Brees. So he's not super high in the quarterback rankings by any stretch of the imagination, but it really does significantly bump up the three primaries in the passing game. Well, it bumps up Kamara because Kamara is going to be amazing now because this is what happens when Michael Thomas is out. With Drew Brees under center and Michael Thomas out of the lineup so far this season, he's averaging almost 28 fantasy points per game. So play him. He's probably besides Derrick Henry, he's probably the best running back play on the slate. But Emmanuel Sanders is up inside the top 30, Traquan Smith inside the top 40, Jared Cook inside the top 10 at tight end right now, and that makes a very cheap bring back to the Chiefs stack for the New Orleans side of the ball. Emmanuel Sanders is $4,200, Traquan is $3,200, Jared Cook is $3,400. Pick your poison there. That's where you're going to get your savings this week. But here's the thing. It's not super sneaky. People know what they're doing when it comes down to this, so if it gets to a point where one of these guys is like 40% owned, never bite on the cheap chalk play at wide receiver or tight end. It so very rarely works out. At running back, it's a little bit different because usually guys are guaranteed to get carries. No one is guaranteed to get a target at any time in any game. That's why you have handcuffs for running backs. You don't have handcuffs for wide receivers on your fantasy football season-long lineups. Just apply that same mentality to DraftKings this week. Late game, Cleveland and the New York Giants. Daniel Jones is likely in. DeVante Freeman is likely going to be coming back as well. I've bumped down Wayne Gallman. He's still a start, but he's a low-end running back too now, just in case Freeman gets involved just a little bit. Evan Engram likely to be in as well, although he popped up midweek with a calf injury, so keep an eye on him. If you have an equal option to Evan Engram, just play the equal option because it's not like Daniel Jones has been any good now that he's been hampered with this leg injury. Monday night, Brandin Allen likely out, Ryan Finley starting, James Conner is likely to play as well. DraftKings ownership, this Michael Thomas late Friday afternoon news has really thrown some of this out of whack, so expect Derrick Henry and Cam Akers to be 1 and 2 when it comes down to ownership, unless everyone just goes to Alvin Kamara. I would have him projected to be number 2 or 3, above 20% on DraftKings in large field tournaments, and that's it's a justifiable move. It's a great play playing Alvin Kamara here, especially at his depressed price point because of the expectation that Taysom Hill was going to start. So play him. I would expect fewer people to use Dalvin Cook because of this, fewer people to use Jonathan Taylor and David Montgomery because of this as well, where the ownership was somewhat spread out in that $7,000 range. That's all going to gravitate towards Kamara, and if people were thinking like, oh, maybe I can jam in Henry and Dalvin Cook. Well, you don't need to do that anymore because Alvin Kamara is probably a better play than Dalvin Cook this week. So you can pay $2,000 less for him. So why wouldn't you do that? At wide receiver, Brandon Ayuk, T.Y. Hilton, Tyreek Hill, and Kelvin Ridley project out to me my highest 4. Sanders is going to start breaching into that, though. I'm curious to see where he ends up popping up. Go to ftndaily.com. Use code Mayo. Get yourself the discount. You can check out the updated FTN ownership projections as the weekend goes along just to see where you can pivot off. All of my pivots article up on for free on ftndaily.com on Saturday as well. Maybe I'll hit on that in there to see if there's a decent pivot point off one of these Saints receivers if they become too chalky. At quarterback, it's Lamar. He's the only one who's projecting over 10% at the moment. And that leads us into tight end, where it's Kelsey and Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews seems to be the preferable play with Lamar Jackson, although you could probably play Lamar Jackson by himself against Jacksonville and not really wade into those waters. But Hollywood Brown, because he had been not deemed out, but people thought that he was going to miss this week all week long, then he's not really in a lot of builds. So if people are creating lineups before they watch this video or before the weekend and they don't really want to go back and change it, Hollywood Brown probably comes in at really depressed ownership. He's actually been playing pretty well over the past 3 weeks, and this is Jacksonville. It's tough to know who to bring it back with. Keelan Cole, maybe. He's super cheap. James Robinson's a bit too expensive, and there are just better plays around the James Robinson range, like Alvin Kamara, that you might not even want to bring back. You could just play Lamar by himself. Not the best correlation play, obviously, but you don't fall into a trap of, oh, I'm going to use Miles Boykin, and he gets 0 points. You don't want that. Other than him, let's see, Jared Cook, obviously going to be pretty highly owned now, too, at tight end. Defense-wise, Rams, Seahawks, and Ravens, I have as 1, 2, 3. I still like the Washington football team at their price. $2,600 is the best of the cheap defenses. That'll do it. I hope this video has been helpful. It's one of my favorite ones to do. It's quick. At least I hope that it's quick for you. I hope that it's to the point, and it has some actionable information. You want to play in the Listeners League? It is not full yet. The link is in the description of the podcast in video. All the rankings are down there as well. Like and subscribe to Mayo Media Network. And if you have a question about Week 15, drop it in the description. My NBA show will be out on Saturday. If you listen to the podcast, it'll come out on that feed on Monday. Highly recommend that you check it out if you want to win some bucks this year on DraftKings playing some NBA. I'm Pat Mayo. Good luck in your fantasy playoffs. Good luck on DraftKings. Good luck in the betting market. I'll see you next time.
That Mayo experience! Experience!